trying to figure out the process, y'all. So bear with me. Let me get enough people that get in the room, get in the chat. And I just wanted to go over pretty much how I mix my pigment, my ink, because I made a video a couple of weeks ago showing how I used a drop method, and it was very confusing to a lot of artists. Rightfully so. I was very like brief and direct to the point. I did leave the explanation in the captions, but you know, people don't like to read. I don't blame them. I don't like reading these long ass captions either. So just stick around for a little bit. Give me maybe 5 more minutes, and then I'm gonna show you how I dilute my ink, and then I'm gonna show you some other inks that are available that are probably gonna be more helpful towards the newer SMP artists, because I know in the very beginning, diluting, mixing your ink could be very overwhelming and confusing, but there are simplified ways to go about this, and you don't have to fill up this entire cup of ink. And the reason I'm against this, it has nothing to do with any brands, so let me just put that out there right now. My whole thing is that once you fill this entire thing up with ink, is having to throw it away, right? Now, you're not gonna dump this in your sink, right? Because now your sink is gonna get all filled with ink, and now you gotta clean that up. You just create another job for yourself. So what do? You take this and you throw it into the garbage. Yeah, I get it. You can stuff tissue and paper, all that. Again, that's another step. I always forget to do it. Well, I used to. Now that I use this method, I don't have to worry about this. So what will happen is I would take this, and by the end of the week, right, there's only so many paper towels that you can use to absorb all the moisture. So at the end of the week, when the garbage lady was coming, she was pulling out the bag and all the pigment was sitting at the bottom, right? So now I was leaving a mess, and now she's got to clean it. Now I'm adding more work to her. So I started thinking about how could I simplify this and use less product. I'm not telling you that I'm the one who created this. I'm sure there was another artist out there who's been doing SMP much longer than I have and figured this out. I'm just saying this is what I do to help me. I'm not saying I'm the inventor of this, because God forbid I say I'm the first one to create something. All right, so by the way, this is David Hoffer, my man. What's up, brother? All right, guys, so like I said, this is gonna be try to be my daily thing, weekly thing. I mean, we really went all out with the stream. Shout out to my guy Mike Press, my videographer. I gave him money, I told him the vision, he put it together, and now you can see me here. And when we get to the pigment portion, right, here we go, right? I'm gonna be working right here for you guys. And then we even gonna be able to, a little picture-in-picture action, right? So you guys could, you know, get a little eye contact still going on as I'm working here. And then if you guys wanna check me out full behind the scenes and kind of see what the setup is, what this has evolved into, if you guys have been following me for some time, all right? And this is another thing about the streaming, right? I don't get to go back and edit. So sometimes my public school education is gonna pop out and I'm not gonna enunciate the words correctly. So don't give me no shit. But either way, this is my behind the scenes shot. So if you guys have been following me for some time, you guys know when I even started the Scalp Solutions podcast, or like creating content, I literally started doing this out of my daughter's playroom. And all I had was my audio device and a $99 microphone. I'm not gonna tell you what kind of investment is going on here right now, because none of y'all coming into my office trying to break in when I'm not here and steal my shit. Even though if you tried, you'd be screwed. It's just not gonna happen. Anyway, let's get back over here. All right, so here's how I mix my pigment. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go with the overhead, all right? First and foremost, we're gonna practice the way, let's go with this guy right here. I like the way this looks. We're gonna practice the way we play. So let's put some gloves on. A little glove love. Don't be nasty. And I have to remember to follow all these protocols, especially nowadays that I've been talking a lot of smack about wrapping machines and all that good stuff. Actually, before I move ahead, can you guys hear me? If you are in the chat, can you hear me? Yes, an emoji, something. While I dance for you. No? Yes? No? Can you hear me? Unfortunately, yes. All right, excellent. So the first ink that I'm gonna be using to show you guys, and this the ink that I used in the video that caused all the confusion, was dynamic ink. So again, I'm not telling you you have to use this ink. I'm telling you this is what I use. There are several inks in the market. It is your job as an SMP artist, which everyone should be doing anyway, to try as many as you possibly can, and then you're gonna find the one that works best with you. And I know some of you are gonna go, but Dave, weren't you using Pigmenta? What happened? Yes, I was. Pigmenta was a good pigment, a good ink. I loved using it. I used it for many years. Prior to that, I was using dynamic. It was an easy transition for me to use Pigmenta because of its viscosity. I enjoyed working with it. I liked the way it healed. Then another opportunity arose, and I was with InkU. Again, another good company, another great pigment. I still use their needles. I don't use their ink, not because it's not good, it's not quality, it's a thick ink, and it's thicker than what I was used to using. But I tried it for about 8 months, and it, for me, was just having to relearn how to dilute things. So I had the questioning was, do I want to continue doing this and figuring things out? But then another opportunity arose. So the ones that I mentioned, great inks, feel free to use them. At the moment, I'm using dynamic, and I use this to, oh, I forgot I got the overhead, and I use this to dilute it. So I'm gonna be working with dynamic. And then I'm gonna also show you some other brands that have simplified this process, all right? So I'm gonna show you how I use dynamic, and I break it down into the drop method, and then I'm gonna show you 2 other brands. One of them I actually have it here. The other one is gonna be an honorary mention. Once they send me the stuff, I'll do the video for you guys. The next one is Solid Ink, and this is by Billy DeCola, who he has taken pretty much what I'm gonna show you now in the drop method and simplified it. Then we have Bishop SMP, who took it and simplified it even more. So much so that I feel confident in saying that if I was a newbie and I was just starting out in SMP, I know how challenging understanding the mixing of ink could be. That would be my go-to. And I'll explain it to you a little later why. I have the card here. It shows how they've broken down the ink into so many different levels based off the Fitzpatrick scale. They've pretty much simplified it. And I know I said it'll be great for newbies, but listen, even for us seasoned SMP artists, sometimes figuring out what's gonna be our dilution could be a little bit challenging. Not only that, when you mix it and then you realize that the ratio that you did is not good, and now you gotta make a whole other one, using the other 2 is just so much more simple because you don't have to worry about breaking it down, turning into a chemist the way I'm about to show you right now. But again, I'm giving you options. That is the role I want to take here. I want to give you options. I'm not going to tell you what is the best. I don't even want to begin to start doing all that. I'm going to leave that for you guys. You guys will see how everyone else is using who and what pigments. So first things first, we gotta shake this bad boy up, all right? What I enjoy about the larger size bottles as well is you can actually shake it by hand, you know? You don't have to worry about buying those extra little machines that you gotta, you know, the kind of like shakes it up for you. You don't have to worry about that. So before I get started, I have here some Hustle Butter Balm, all right? These are their single packets, sample packets. For purposes like today, right, an instruction, these come in handy instead of me having to bring out my 5-ounce jar and then waste a wooden spoon. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna put a little bit of this on my, I'm gonna call this a mat for instructional purpose. And this is just so that I can keep the caps from tipping over, all right? I know, why are you wasting the Hustle Butter? Hey, listen, this is what they do, okay? If you wanna use double-sided tape, go right for it. The product is already out, take a little bit, keeps your caps down. All right, so now, this is where we start breaking it down. Let's say, for example, you're using the traditional, you know what, I don't even know if it's safe to say the traditional, the most common grid or graph for diluting pigment, ink. They go from 1 to 30, right? 1 being the darkest, 30 being the lightest, right? On the Fitzpatrick scale. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. What does that mean? 1 part pigment, 1 part dilutant or dilution, whatever it is that you want to use. You want to use distilled water, regular water. I wouldn't suggest regular water, distilled water. Again, I use this Dynamics mixing solution. So we're working on a 1-to-1 ratio. So let's say, for example, you have a client, you look at him, you assess the scalp, and you go, he's gonna need a 20-to-1 ratio. What does that mean? I'm going to take my dynamic and I'm going to do 20 drops of pigment. Now I hope, since this is an overhead, I don't know if you guys are really gonna, let's see, be able to see this, but let's get 20 drops. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yes, I can hear some of you already. Wow, that shit took a lot of time. No, it did not. Relax, okay? 20 little drops. I'm gonna give you an alternate method if you can't do it this way, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I made it look good. I made it look good. But let me tell you something. This usually kicks my ass. I don't always get it done on the first try, but I don't mind it because I have a big bottle of ink to work with. So I'm not worrying about, you know, wasting a little bit, right? So now I put 20 drops of, I actually did that wrong. I did that wrong. I did it wrong, guys. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. See that? I'm okay with that. I'm human, y'all. I make mistakes too. All right, so let's get let's get this guy out of here. All right, this guy is no bueno. I screwed that up. I said we're working on a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 part pigment, 1 part dilution. So you know what that means for you rocket scientists out there that can't get basic fractions like me? It's 1 drop of ink. 1 drop. Always 1 drop. I'll explain to you when there's gonna be 2. All right, this is the magic part. Boom, 1 drop, baby. 1 and done. That's what she said. All right, so we got 1 drop and we're gonna do a 20, right? Because we looked at the client's scalp and we figured, okay, this is what's gonna be best. All right, Someone just texted me, not surprised with those thumbs. Okay. Hey, guys, I do have big hands. All right. Leave me alone. Be nice to me. All right. So now let's go over here. Now I'm going to put 20 drops of dilution. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm done. I'm done. That's it. But, right, obviously now we have to mix it. And as you can see, my mixer is completely covered. All right, created a barrier around the entire thing, especially if I'm gonna be working off of this station, right? And I'm gonna be leaving it right there because that is going to be contaminated. So you guys that are not wrapping your machine, you might wanna start thinking about doing that. All right, so let's get back to the ink. So we did a 20-to-1 ratio, 1 drop of ink, 20 drops of dilution. But if you look at the cap, okay, the cap, it's only, and I wish I could turn it upside down, but I can't because I'm gonna spill it all. It's only taking up half. Why is that a problem? Because you might bottom out your needle. And if you bottom out your needle, you're gonna destroy it. And you're gonna be going through needles all day, all right, a whole box. So here's what you have to do. You wanna fill this a little bit more so you have some room to be able to dip in your needle, even though you don't have to dip your needle all the way in, but we're not even gonna get into that on how to properly, get ink. But, so you won't bottom out. So what are you gonna do now? This is the part that I explained in the initial video that I posted and was a little confusing. All you're gonna do is double it. So if you're doing a 1-to-20 ratio, you're gonna repeat it again. So now you're gonna add 1 more drop of ink and you're gonna add 20 more drops of dilution. So let's do that. One, okay? And now we're gonna go with 20 drops of dilution. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You probably can't see it from the angle up top. This 16 millimeter cap, because that's what this is a 16 millimeter ink cap, is now filled all the way to the very top. You should not, for any reason, be bottoming out your needles with the cup now filled all the way to the top. And what are we gonna do? We're gonna take this guy right here, right? Get your mixer. And then we're gonna go and get a little mix on. All right. I just did a very light mixing because I don't wanna make a mess. Some of it is gonna spill because it's at the very top. I've been using these 16 millimeter cups for about a year now. I know that it can hold 40 drops. I've pushed it to about 45, 50, but it creates kind of like that little hump over it. I'm sure there's some scientific name for it. I don't know what it is, but once you start mixing it, it's gonna all spill out. If you need more of that 21 during a session, would you make a fresh one? Yes, that's exactly what I would do. Using this method. If I needed more, I would create a whole, we're talking about if it's completely gone. Now, if I'm halfway, then I'm just adding another drop of ink and then 20 more drops of dilution. And remember that, folks, because like I told you in the beginning, there are other companies that have simplified this for us. I'm breaking it down for you Barney style, but some companies have gone and broken it down into even more Barney style. And you're probably wondering, what the hell does that mean, Barney style? Listen, in the Marines, which I spent 14 years of my life in, we broke things down Barney style, meaning in the most simplistic form that we possibly can so that the human can comprehend it. Okay, right now, I'm trying to do that with this. I understand. Some of you are probably lost. It's okay. Stick with me, guys. Trust me, please. I'm going to do right by you. All right? So now, hold on, let me answer some questions here. What we got? It's okay, bro. Appreciate your time and insight. Appreciate you. Thank you. Who we got here? Is Dave trolling me? Let me scroll up. What ethnicity with a 20-to-1? A 20-to-1 for me, we're looking at someone who's pretty much kind of like beige, white, a light-skinned Puerto Rican. And I'm talking about New York standards here right now, guys, because we have some white chocolate Caucasians on this side of the United States. So for me, that's what we're looking at. Light olive. But then again, here's another thing. You can't just take that as law, because not every, let's say you have someone that comes into your office and they're light skin. Okay, let's go with a light skin, right? I wanted to throw out Fitzpatrick numbers. I don't even want to start doing that to confuse you guys. You have two of the same skin tone people. That does not mean your dilution ratio is going to be the exact same for the both of them. So the 20-to-1 might work for one of your clients. It might not be the exact same for the other. It might actually look a little darker, okay? That's what I'm saying. I'm not going in on it, all right? This is a good foundation, just a basic understanding. And then you take it from there and you make your little tweaks. Pardon me. All right. That's the drop method when you're using dynamic. All right, guys, overhead and in the front. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, in regards to what I was saying in the beginning, when you're throwing this thing out, it's a little cap. It's nothing. You can take a little piece of tissue and literally just dump it in there, and look, it absorbs the whole thing. And now check this out, right? You can turn it sideways and look, no ink is spilling. So now when whoever comes and cleans up after you, whether you're doing it yourself or someone else is, you don't have to worry about cleaning up a mess. And see, I just spilled it. Luckily I had this mat, or I would have destroyed my whole computer table, which I still probably did. And it's going to be very frustrating when I remove this if it's still messed up. Okay, now let's move on to another, you know what? I got to stop with this whole pigment shit. I'm sorry, guys. It's ink, all right? It's ink. Not doing a consultation here. For consultation purposes, you want to call it pigment because you want to identify and relate with your client. By all means, do it. I like using ink. All right, so we have here solid ink. This is solid ink. This is Billy the Cola's line of SMP ink. And you're probably asking, what makes it SMP ink? It is bottled and broken down into different consistencies for us SMP artists. There are no claims of it doesn't change colors, X, Y, Z. They understand that it's ink. Ink does its job. There's no difference, but as SMP artists, we work in different shades, so they've simplified the process for us. They know that at some point, someone was doing a lab project like what I just showed you, right? So now what did they do? They took a carbon black ink and they've broken it down into different strengths, okay? So you have ultralight, light, medium, then you have black, and then you have dark. Dark is for people that are the skin tone of David Hoffer. All right. Now, what's the beauty about these guys right here? All right. Now, let's say, again, we got the same client, and you're telling yourself, because you're so used to working off this, 1 to 30 diagram, and you go, you know what? I think this guy's like a 20. He's going to be a 20-to-1. Okay, but what's a 20-to-1? So you put these all together, and I'm going to say a 20-to-1 is probably going to be someone between light and medium. What do? All I have to do is just take this bottle right here. If this is what I feel comfortable with, And I'm telling myself, this gentleman right here might be a medium. And again, to be honest with you, this is something that I might do. But again, I also have a little more experience and I also have a different touch. So I know how to, even if this is darker than what I wanted, I kind of know how to control my pressure so that it doesn't come out as dark as it really should. But that also gives me time to not use this anymore and bump it down and go with a light pigment. So now, what are you gonna do with this? Very simple. All right, I'm shaking this by hand. I don't hear like a piece of metal or like an aluminum ball. I don't know what kind of ball, a ball bearing, stainless steel ball bearing inside of it. So what most people will do is they'll have those little machines that you just put it on and it shakes it for you. All right, let's assume that this has been properly mixed. Now you simply just twisting the cap off, right? You're twisting off the cap and you know that this is the color you want to try. Look how simple this is. This is all you got to do. Now, oh, well, you know what? Maybe, maybe guys, it will help if you open the shit. I honestly thought this was the set that I was already testing out. As I was. All right, so now, this is all you have to do. Literally, guys. Right here, that's it. Squeeze it into your cap, however much you want. All right, I'm gonna go all the way to the end. That's it, you're done. You're done. There's no figuring out how much dilution you need. It's already done for you, okay? I'm gonna put this guy to the side. If you want to, you can go ahead with your mixer and feel free, go ahead. You know what, give it a little extra mixing because you don't feel comfortable, you don't have access to one of those little machines that does the vibrating, the mixing for you. That's literally it. There's no experiencing what I was in the very beginning, right? Oh, what if 2 drops ends up falling in instead of 1? Now you got to start all over again, right? Yeah, you're wasting a little 16mm cup. It's not that expensive, but still is adding another step into your process, right? You kind of want to have things streamlined. So that's what's great about what Solid Ink and Billy the Cola have done. Now, can we possibly simplify this anymore? That's what I thought, because for many years, we've been looking for a way to simplify this whole mixing ratio nonsense, right? I don't want to say nonsense. It's not nonsense. It just becomes nonsense because it's hard to comprehend sometimes. And depending on who's your trainer, some of them don't even know what the hell they're saying or doing. All right, let's be honest. But that's not what we're here to do today. We're not bashing anybody. All right, so we're going to remove this. Now, the third brand is coming from Bishop. Now, if you guys don't know who Bishop are, these guys are powerhouses in the tattooing industry, body art, okay? They know what we need because they've been doing this for years. Not only that, they also have someone who's an OG in the game, in the SMP world industry, to consult with them and let them know what it is that we've been missing. That's Mr. David Hoffer. So shout out to Dave Hoffer for helping put all of this together. And here's what Bishop has done. I don't have their ink here. I don't have the whole set, but I did not want that to stop me from making this video because I was receiving too many DMs for people asking me to break down my mixing video into more context. But here's what they've done. And let me show you this right here. Here's the overhead. I'm trying to center this for you guys. So what Bishop has done is they created a line. It's called Bishop Shades. All right. So what they've simply done is they've taken carbon black pigment and they've broken it down into the 10 possible shades of clients you're going to potentially come across. And then they've equipped you, right? They're going to equip you with this card that to date, I'm telling you right now, there is no other brand that provides you with a reference card as intuitive and as simple to understand as Bishop. So I commend you guys on that, because now all you're doing is, right, you got these 10 bottles and they're about this same size right here, right? 2-ounce bottles or 1-ounce bottles, I believe. It doesn't matter, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at your client and you're gonna base them off this graph right here. And now you just grab the bottle that goes off of what you have here, all right? So let's say my client he looks medium to me. Right here, medium says a 6. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna grab the Bishop Shades number 6, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I've done with all the other ones. I'm just gonna pour, not all the other ones, I retract that, as I did with solid inks. I'm just gonna pour it right into my ink cup. It's already been diluted for me. The thinking has been removed. The process of mixing has been removed. Literally, you're looking at your client, you're looking at the graph, and you're going with the number that identifies with your client, and then you go and you grab it, you pour it into your ink cap, okay? You will never need to create this much product ever again. It's just not necessary. You don't need it, okay? I get some of you guys will make a whole shot glass of carbon ink, and then you go and you grab a needle, or you grab a pipette, and now you're taking a little bit and you add your 40 drops into the cup, but you still have this whole thing here. And this only becomes an issue when you are active, you do get a lot of clients, and you're dumping this into the garbage. Like I said, it's gonna all go to the bottom. You're gonna have a mess all over the place. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, guys. You have some options, and you can pretty much do this with any of, especially the way I did the drop method in the very beginning of the video of how I did it with the dynamic. You can do that with any ink that you're using. It doesn't matter if you're using an ink in a 5 milliliter bottle, a 10-ounce bottle. It does not matter. You can do the exact same thing with the drops. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. Here's another thing that I want to mention that is very important to understand with what Solid Ink and with what Bishop have done. Just so you understand this, that drop method that I just showed you in the very beginning with dynamic, that may be like a mind implosion to you, like, wow, why did I never think of this? And it might seem like it's not flawed. Guess what? It is. Why is it flawed? You know why it's flawed? Because not every time that you put a drop, one single drop into these cups, you're gonna be able to get the exact same volume in the drop that you did the last time. You might look and go, all right, well, the first session I did a 1-to-20. Now I'm at the second session, I'm gonna do a 1-to-20. There is a very strong probability that the second time you mix a 1-to-20, the drops are not gonna be the exact same size. So that can create a little bit of an inconsistency as you're moving along in your sessions. But it's a very little. But I'm telling you this because you're not gonna experience that with Solid Ink or with Bishop. You know why? Because they're mixing all of this into one big batch, okay? This is being formulated and manufactured in a factory. Like, these things are calculated to like the whatever the hell of a gram. I don't understand how the volume is calculated, but that is how far they've gone to calculate it, to make sure that you get the exact same thing every time. So if I were new, or even now, and that's just the way that I'm going, I'm gonna be using Bishop blends because I want to try it out. I want to see how it works for me. I'm familiar with Solid Ink. I like the way Solid Ink looks, and you know what? I have no problem bouncing back between two pigments until I find one that I like and I'm just gonna stick with, because like I told you, not every client is the same. Some pigments are gonna react differently. So I hope that made sense to you guys that are watching this. Let me get a little full right here. I hope that makes sense. I hope it brought you guys some value. If you have some questions, if I caused further confusion, let me know. Maybe I screwed up. I'm live streaming this, guys. I have no, like, I'm shooting off the cuff. I'm going straight off the dome here. This is not me going back, editing, fixing stuff. So if I said something out of pocket that maybe was incorrect, let me know. Call me out on it. Be nice. Be nice. Do it the right way. And I'll give more context. I'll correct myself. So do you guys have any questions? Any questions at all before I wrap it up? So what do we have here? Let's see. Give me 1 second. Do you use neutralizer? I don't. I don't use the neutralizer. I don't want to say that you can't teach old dog new tricks because I don't think that's fair. I just haven't seen enough data results to prove to me that it's necessary. Not only that, when you surround yourself with some friends that are also have been doing this for a very long time, and they're also in the laser removal space, and they start telling you things like, hey man, you know, don't put an orange because this makes it more difficult to remove X, Y, Z. Like, those are things that scare me from using neutralizers. I've been doing this for 8 years. I'm not throwing out that number to tell you like, oh, I'm super experienced. I've seen it all. I know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just saying I've been doing this for 8 years. I used neutralizer 2 times, and both those times I was not happy with my results. Could it have been because I didn't know what the hell I was doing and I was just going off what's trending on social media? Possibly, but I haven't used it again and everything has been fine. I'm gonna scroll up, see you guys have. But I will tell you this, let me go back over here. With Billy DeCola's set, let me put this down here. You guys will see it. He includes a brown. This is upside down. My bad, guys. I'm still trying to figure this out. He includes a brown. And in total, you will get, let me make sure this is closed before I make a mistake again. You're gonna get 6 bottles of ink. 6 bottles of ink that you do not have to dilute. It's already done. The work has already been done for you. And then, like I said, then Shades went and took it to another level and simplified it even more, and now created 10 of the most common shades of SMP ink that you're gonna be potentially coming across. That's pretty much it, guys. I hope that gave you enough insight to make a smarter decision on pigment selection, mixing, give you a little more insight, some value. And I'm gonna try to put as many of these as I possibly can. The next step is figuring out how we take this whole thing, this whole contraption that we've created, because like I said, you know, we got a lot going on. So the next step is figuring out how we can take all of this and be able to move it into my SMP space so that we can have multi-camera angles as I'm doing an SMP, so you guys could just follow along. So this is gonna be good for all of you that have been DMing me, asking me, let me bring my seat down a little more. I kind of like this look. All of you that have been DMing me, asking about shadowing and all that stuff, you know, I haven't been able to make that available because of the time. You know, I am busy, but at least now I can bring you guys in with me as if you were shadowing and allow you guys to ask all the questions that you might have regarding on how I do SMP. Again, how I do. I'm not telling you that the way I do it is the only way. I'm just bringing you into my world, showing you how I do things. It's your job well, that's your job. It's on you as an SMP artist to take what you want from me, put it in your backpack, and use that to convert yourself into the SMP artist that you want to be. I know there's some people out there that like to, we got some false prophets that tell you it's my way or the highway. I don't believe in that. We're all artists. There's so many ways to go about how we do SMP with certain things, that is. And that's my take on it. So if I can figure out a way to bring all of this into the SMP room, that'll be really dope. Bring all you guys behind the scenes. And what I will also like to do in the future, in the near future, I would like to bring some of my friends on to this live stream, to this platform. So as I'm discussing something like this, you can hear insight from other successful SMP artists from around the world. So you guys can hear how they do things, right? I think that would be incredibly valuable. And I wish there was something like that when, I was starting out with SMP, but back then there was a lot of gatekeeping, but I'm looking to change that. And at this point right now I don't want to say that I have a choice, because I really don't. And that's why I'm super happy about the involvement that I have with Hustle Butter, because they understand some of the problems, some of the issues that have been going on in this industry. And a lot of it has to do with gatekeeping, trainers not knowing what they're doing and issuing you guys certificates. So myself and a couple of other good friends, I don't want to mention their name because I haven't asked for their permission to do all that, but we're going to try to do right by the community and bring you guys up to par, so you guys are doing things the correct way. So that being said, I'm going to wrap it up. This was dope. This was fun. I had a good time. I hope this brought some value to you guys. If you want to send me a DM, give me some ideas of some topics you'd like for me to discuss. Maybe some SMP artists you'd like for me to bring onto the live stream. Not on the podcast. On the podcast, we already booked out till like October. But onto the stream. And again, what topics? All right, y'all. David Santiago, Scalp Solutions, New York. If you got questions, hit me on the DM. Make sure you follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Scalp Solutions. We're also going to be taking exactly what I spoke about here today, converting that into some long form content, so we have it in a space that lives, so you can reference it whenever you wish. All right, y'all. Peace.